I want to share a top tip with you that I've been talking to quite a few of my private clients this week, and sometimes when they go on holiday or get caught up in work, they can't practice their saxophone. And I wanted to kind of think about ways that you could practice the saxophone even if you didn't have the sax in your hands and mouth. Now that might sound kind of crazy. How can you possibly practice the saxophone if you don't have your saxophone, right? Well, actually, there is a way. There are ways, in fact, there's lots of ways that you could still keep your saxophone practice going when you don't have your saxophone with you. And you can use this technique when you're in your car or when you're sitting on a train or a bus or you've got some downtime. You can still, if you want to, practice your saxophone in a way that will definitely have a positive impact on your playing. Now, I've created a PDF which I'll share with you if you want it. You can download it. It's in the link in the description below. And what it says is that I found it really fascinating to discover that in the 1980s, there was this guy in the University of Chicago called Dr. Judd Biasiotto. And what he did was he took a whole bunch of people, I think it was 100 people, and he divided them up into, and these people were selected because they had no experience with shooting hoops in a basketball situation. And then they tested them to see out of 10 hoops, how many hoops could they score. They divided the group up into threes, and then one group was given to a trainer, an actual physical trainer in shooting hoops. Another group was just sent away and said, don't practice, just see you and come back in a month. And the third group was given to a visualization specialist who also understood how to shoot hoops. They brought them back a month later, and believe it or not, the group that had been trained by a physical trainer, they got the best result with a 24% improvement. The group that did nothing got no improvement, and the group that did visualization, which I found absolutely mind-blowing, but this is actually right, they'd improved by 23%. So in other words, this is a demonstration that if you kind of really engage the senses and visualize something strongly, you can still get a fantastic result. And what this means is that you can practice your saxophone sitting on a train or sitting on a bus, or if you've got a long flight, or if you're walking around the park, you can still practice your saxophone. So how would you go about doing that? Well, there's just things that you can do, and the bottom line with all of this is that you really have to use your imagination and engage all of the senses. So one thing that you could do, so I used to do this on the London Underground, because on the London Underground, you're not allowed to look at anybody, you're not allowed to speak, you've got to hide behind your newspaper. So I would just sit there like this, with my eyes closed, and I would, in my imagination, take the sax out of the box, get the sax and blow a note on it, see if I could just blow a note on it and see if I could imagine what that sounded like and feel the sax in my hands. And then start practicing C major. And could I do that? Could I keep my mental focus long enough to be able to play a scale in my imagination? And I did. I used to do this a lot. First of all, it passed the time. And secondly, it did kind of feel like I was practicing in some sort of weird way. What you could do is to practice all 12 scales or one of your scales just in your imagination. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it really does, it does work. And like I said, the key is to engage the senses. So feel the weight of the sax in your hand, feel the temperature of the metal against your fingers, hear the sound that you're making, right? See yourself actually doing it. If there's any smells associated with you know, maybe you've got some incense burning in the room that you're practicing in. Another thing that you can do without actually having your sax with you, if you're on a plane or a bus or a train or you're on holiday, is see if you can write out the major scales. And this is a really good practice, because if you're able to write out your major scales, then you're developing your level of familiarity with these scales. When you come to play them, you're not thinking, no, wait a minute, I do know what the notes are. Oh, hang on a sec. You're not thinking that. You think, yeah, I know what the notes are. It's going to be E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. I know what I'm doing. I'm in the key of E major. I need these notes. So writing them out is a really, really good practice. And personally, I can write them all out without rushing in under 30 seconds. It's not a difficult job. So that would be a good thing to be able to do, that you can do without actually having your saxophone to practice on. Another one is to test yourself on Dorian Minors. I'm reading off the PDF, by the way, or bullet points. So test yourself on Dorian Minors. Do you know your Dorians? Would you know what the Dorian minor of E major would be? And the answer is F sharp minor. Good. What would the notes be? F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, and F sharp. Good stuff. So getting familiar with your Dorian minors, and then why? Why would you bother to do this? Well, because Dorian minors come up all the time on the saxophone. I mean, they just do, you know, so if you're more familiar with them, then that's got to be a good thing. Anything that you can do to expand and develop your familiarity with these forms is a really good thing. Then another one would be to recite the scales out loud, right? So could you say what the notes of any particular major scale? So B major, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B. Can you recite them? And if it's not appropriate for you to be reciting them out loud, could you recite them in your you know, internally in your mind's ear, right? So you could recite them silently. And you could do the same with the chord tones. Would you be able to know what the chord tones of a particular scale are? So let's say C major, C, E, G, B, D. Could you recite them? Are you aware of what they are? Because those are the sweet spots of the scale. So again, if you deepen your familiarity and you're 100% sure of what the notes are, when you pick up your sax and play them, it's like a miracle. It's like you hit them straight away. You don't have to think so hard about them. Your brain doesn't have to go, right, where did I leave those chord tones? I know they're around here somewhere, and go hunting for them. So another thing that you could do is imagine yourself playing, improvising and just playing effortlessly. So this is absolutely a top tip, because this is what elite professional athletes do, and this is what elite performers in all realms do. It's so common to hear them say that they would imagine themselves going through it. They've seen it in their mind's eye, and we can do that. And again, it's all about engaging the senses. So just imagine yourself playing the most effortless, beautiful saxophone, playing way above your level, and you're just able to do it, and it's so beautiful. What are the colours like? What are the sounds like? How does it feel to hold that sax? Again, engaging the senses is the key here. And you could imagine yourself playing at a world-class jazz club, or you could imagine yourself playing at a gig, or you could just imagine yourself playing in your practice room and just enjoying it being effortless and being fun. This is actually a very powerful thing to do, because the brain really finds it difficult to distinguish between something which has been really strongly imagined and something which has happened. So, you know, don't discount this advice that I'm giving you out of hand, you know, because it really does work, and it is a trait of top professionals. And then another thing that you can do is to develop inner time with rhythmic games. So if you've got your headphones on, or any time you're listening to a bit of music, you could ba da 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 ba da da ba da 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 ba ba da da ba ba da 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 dee da ba da da da. Now I'm making that silly noise, but you could do it with clapping or tapping your leg, and that will really encourage you to get some really lovely rhythms going when you're improvising. Again, it's a top tip. The last one that I would suggest that you do, and again, this is all written down on the PDF for you, is play What's Its Other Name? What's its other name? And I might turn the camera around for this, so just bear with me for a second. Right, so all of these fantastic black notes on the piano have got two names, haven't they? This one is C sharp, also known as D flat. And this one is D sharp, also known as E flat. This one is F sharp, also known as G flat, G sharp, also known as A flat, and A sharp, also known as B flat. But what tends to happen is that we get comfortable with one of those names and not so comfortable with the other one. So what we want to do is to go, right, B flat, what's B flat's other name? And the answer is A sharp. Okay, what about E flat? What's E flat's other name? D sharp, and so on and so forth. So you can make it like a game show. What's its other name? Again, you can do this when you're walking around the park and just think to yourself, what's B flat's other name? What is G flat's other name? What is it, even G flat? And this is really good because if you come across those notes in a situation where you're about to play something, then it can really throw you. If you see G flat and you don't recognize it as F sharp, it just throws you off for that second. So playing what's its other name is a really good top tip. Right, I do hope you've enjoyed that. Now, just before I go, Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge. And that was Einstein, probably the smartest human being that's ever lived, maybe. I don't know. But I think he's right. I really do think he's right. If you found this useful, would you mind subscribing to my channel? I would really appreciate that. And send me some feedback as well, lyndon@saxmadesimple.com. I really hope you found something in there useful, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye.